So enjoy the video as I am making it. Aubergine loaf, also known as an eggplant. Grease your loaf pan with butter, and I've put some greaseproof paper at the bottom so that it doesn't stick and it will come out easily. And I've also preheated my oven on 180 degrees Celsius or gas mark 4. So make sure you preheat your oven and greaseproof your loaf pan before you start. Today I'm making an aubergine loaf, and the dry ingredients are 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 80 grams of mixed nuts, which I just put in the blender, or you can buy fine or powdered nuts, 300 grams of self-rising flour. So all these dry ingredients I'm going to mix together in the one big bowl over there. And then in my wet ingredients are 300 grams of aubergine, which I've grated, 50 grams of raisins, which I just put in the microwave with 1 tablespoon of milk. Just put it in for about a minute or so. And the sugar, I have 200 grams of castor sugar, 1 egg, 100 grams of melted butter, and I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of almond essence. So I'm going to mix all these wet ingredients together: the essence, melted butter, the 1 egg, 50 grams of raisins, which I've put in the microwave with 1 tablespoon of milk, just for about a minute or so, 200 grams of castor sugar, and I mix all of that in this bowl here with the grated aubergine, 300 grams of aubergine. So this is going to be my wet mix, and this here, the flour, self-rising flour with the nuts, the cinnamon and the baking powder, this is called my dry mix. You'll find out while I'm making it why I call it my dry mix and the wet mix. Right, so I'm mixing all the dry ingredients, which is 300 grams of flour, 180 grams of ground nuts, can be fine nuts too, it doesn't matter. And I just took a bag of mixed nuts and I just put it in the blender. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I always get stuck with that word. So 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, don't be shy. And 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So mix all the dry ingredients together. Right, so that's all my dry ingredients nicely mixed. I'm going to put that to the side while I mix my wet ingredients. Right, now I'm going to mix my wet ingredients, which is the aubergine. 300 grams of aubergine, 1 egg, 300 grams of melted butter, and a teaspoon of almond essence. That was just the last bit in the bottle. And then your 200 grams of castor sugar. So I'm going to mix all that together. You can whisk the egg up before the time if you want to. So this is all the wet ingredients with the sugar. I know sugar is dry, but I just want that sugar to infuse with the aubergine. Now it looks like mashed banana, doesn't it? So that's your aubergine with your egg, your butter, the essence and the sugar all mixed together. So I'm going to let that stand just for about 2 minutes before I carry on with the next step. going to put a dash of salt in here just to bring out the flavor of the aubergine. And I'm using fine salt, not the thick coarse one, just fine salt. Just a dash, a pinch. Just a pinch of salt, just a little, just to bring out the flavor of the aubergine. Okay, I'm going to let that stand for about 2 minutes, just for that to infuse all together. Right, now I'm slowly going to add the wet ingredients. It's been standing for about 2 minutes. I'm slowly going to add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. Gradually, very slowly. I don't know if you can see that. Now I'm going to mix it until it forms a dough. Smelling nice. I can smell the cinnamon. Very nice. We add the last bit and then you can see clearly. I'm just going to mix this. Now you will notice I haven't added any milk or water or nothing like that, because aubergine is from that family that is quite liquidy on its own. Just going to mix this all nicely together. So that's why you don't need any liquid, need to add any liquid, because the veg itself is quite a watery kind of vegetable. So I'm going to recap while I'm stirring this. So in here is 300 grams of self-rising flour, 200 grams of castor sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 egg, 80 grams of ground nuts, 50 grams of raisins, and I think that is it. Oh, and 300 grams of aubergine. Yeah, so just mix them together now. Just go into the center, and then I'm going to pour it into my baking loaf pan. Right, so that looks right. Right, so there's the dough, nicely mixed together. I'm going to now pour it into my loaf pan. I don't know if you're going to see this now. Oopsie. Yes. Remember, I greased it with butter, and I put some parchment paper, greaseproof paper at the bottom, just so that it can come out easily. There we go, and that's going in the oven now on 180 degrees Celsius, gas mark 4. I'm going to put it in for about an hour until the top is nice and golden brown, and I'm going to test it with a skewer to see if it is dry through, and then I'll take it out.